Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about the Imperial Fist, of course, because it's a glorious, glorious day. I've been sent some information regarding them. This information has been confirmed visually. I've saw the information myself and I'm just going to be going over what I've actually seen. Also, I just want to put it out there that the Imperial Fist will be coming at the end of this month. If my maths is correct, they should be going on pre-order on the 19th to be released on the 26th. With the Imperial Fist, of course, the Salamanders are coming, the Tor Garadon model, the Salamander model as well, and also I got confirmed that the Impulsor tank is also coming. I didn't get anything or any news on the Infiltrators, that separate kit, but I would think that would be dropping with them as well, but again, that was not confirmed by anyone who I knew. Right, let's jump in and let's take a look at some of this Imperial Fist stuff. When I say let's take a look at this Imperial Fist stuff, what I meant by that is listen to me talk about it, because I can't show off the images. This is one of the promises that I made to the person that gave me this, because if it did, then I would break in his trust, and I don't want to be doing that. So I'm sorry if you don't like my voice, then just turn it off. If you do like my voice, or you want to bear with my voice, then hang on for this little ride. So we all know the chapter trait that we got. It was 6s on bolters generate another hit, and of course we ignore cover because, you know, your fortifications mean nothing to us. We are the glorious sons of Dawn. Now, adding on to that with the Imperial Fist, while you are in the Devastator Doctrine, heavy weapons are +1 damage against vehicles and buildings. That's +1 damage. So what I'm thinking instantly about that is Stalker bolters, 10-man squad of Stalker bolters, shooting, you know, damage free, ignoring cover, 6s generating more hits. If the dice gods are with you, instantly my mind goes to executioner tanks. 90% of the weapons on there all have the heavy profile, the heavy bolters, the Icarius, the heavy laser destroyer, and of course you're getting the AP minus as well with that when you're in the Devastated Doctrine. So it can really get a lot of combinations of very, very nasty stuff when you come to play the shooting game with the Imperial Fists. But again, that is only against vehicles and buildings. That's not against infantry, so don't get the two mixed up. All right, moving on to the Warlord Traits. I'm going to pick a couple of Warlord Traits to discuss. One of them is called Fleetmaster, and this is orbital firepower is often called upon by this leader. Once per battle, at the end of your fight phase, if this Warlord remains stationary and did not make any attacks this turn, it can call down an orbital strike. If it does, select 1 point on the battlefield and roll 1d6. For each unit within d6 inches of that point, subtracting 1 from the result if the unit being rolled for is a character. On a 4+, the unit being rolled for suffers d3 mortal wounds. Now, the cool thing about that and why I've chose it is basically it doesn't say in anything where I read that it can't stack with the orbital bombardment that you can pay for, you know, for command points. So technically you can bring down 2 orbital bombardments. Even more so, I think you can bring down 3 if you have the Impulsor tank, because remember the Impulsor rules, they had something like orbital stuff in there. So I'm thinking, can you basically call down 3 orbital bombardments in one game playing as the Imperial Fist? That is a very cool thing if they can stack. There is another Warlord trait called Stubborn Heroism. Unyielding are the Imperial Fist, refusing to relent and exacting the bloody price of victory from their foes, even when retreat might prove more prudent. So this one is, this Warlord cannot fall back. When resolving an attack against this Warlord, half any damage inflicted, and it's got in brackets, rounding up. Also on this Warlord trait page, there is a section for the Crimson Fist Warlord traits as well. For those of you who have been asking me, are there Black Templars in this book? No, they are not. This, for me, confirms what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks now, about the Psychic Awakening being more or less the place where the Templars are going to get their love. They are rumoured to be in Book 2 fighting Chaos. If that is correct, that also would mean that the chap who broke the news about that, about Book 3 being about Blood Angels and Tyranids, and Book 4 being about Space Wolves and Orcs, would also more or less 100% mean that those are going to be the next books as well. But let's stay on subject for now. So if we look at the Crimson Fist Warlord traits, let's start with the top one, which is Refuse to Die. Like the chapter itself, the Crimson Fist champion defies death against all odds. For the first time this warlord is destroyed, roll 1d6 at the end of the phase. On a 4+, return this warlord to play with d3 wounds remaining, placing them as close as possible to their previous position and more than 1 inch away from any enemy models. It's kind of like a little Gilliman, coming back. That's where my mind instantly went to. I don't know if you can compare it to any other unit. Okay, let's move on to stratagems again. I'm just going to go through a couple of the stratagems. These are not all the stratagems, just a few of them. So I want to start with Bitter Enemy, because I actually very, very much like this one. So this is for 1 command point. So it says, use this stratagem in the fight phase when an Imperial Fist unit from your army is chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in that unit against an Iron Warrior unit, you can reroll hit rolls and you can reroll wound rolls. So basically, if we're fighting Iron Warriors, they are our bitter enemies, and we're going to smash them in melee combat. That's if we make it to melee. By the time the shooting's over, round 1 against Iron Warriors, they're probably heading for the hills, crying into their pillows. If we move on to the next one, which again, I find this one very, very interesting. So this is for 2 command points, and this is called Bolt Drill. And I'll explain why I find it interesting. So it says, use this stratagem in your shooting phase when you choose an Imperial Fist unit from your army to shoot with, until the end of that phase when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit with a bolt weapon, and it's got in the brackets, see Codex Space Marines, and a modified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Now, the reason I find this interesting, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Space Marine Codex, we already get an extra hit when we roll 6s. So if I play this stratagem, does that mean I get 2 additional hits? Because 1 from my normal chapter trait, what it is now, and 1 from this stratagem. Again, I could be completely wrong. I may be misinterpreting this, but if I am right, and that is right, then again, that could be devastating if you heavy bolters and stuff like that. Again, Devastator Doctrine, the minus AP, the damage on heavy bolters, that could be a lot of DACA you can rain down on your target if the dice gods are with you. Another stratagem we have is Bolster Defenses. This is 1 command point. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Select 1 Imperial Fist infantry unit from your army that is entirely on or within a terrain feature. As long as that unit remains stationary, when resolving an attack made against that unit, add an additional 1 to the saving throw, and it's got in brackets. This will normally mean you add 2 to the unit's saving throws for being in cover instead of 1. Invulnerable saves are uninfected. You can only use this stratagem once per battle. So if you think like something's got to get a lot of DACA being thrown at it, then, bolster the defenses in Dawn's glorious name, brothers. And another stratagem I really, really like is one called Pain is a Lesson. Now, this is 1 command point again. I've noticed that a lot of these traits for the Imperial Fist are very, very cheap, which I of course, absolutely love. So this stratagem is, use this stratagem in any phase when an Imperial Fist unit from your army that is not a vehicle or servitor is chosen as a target of an enemy attack. Until the end of that phase, when a model in that unit would lose a wound, roll 1d6. On a 6, that wound is not lost. So technically, that is our little feel no pain, where we can just deploy it anywhere on anything, except, of course, as it stated, a vehicle or a servitor unit. Now, another stratagem which seems fantastic for offenses is called Praetorian's Wrath. This is 2 command points. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase if the Devastated Doctrine is active until the start of your next movement phase when resolving an attack made with a heavy or grenade weapon by an Imperial Fist model from your army. On an unmodified wound roll of 6, the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon is improved by an additional 1 for that attack. You can only use this stratagem once per battle, so an extra AP can come in very handy in some certain situations. Again, I'm thinking executioner tanks, you know, the stalker bolters, devastated doctrine. It all piles up and it can really rain down and do a lot of damage upon your enemies. Okay, let's move on to some of the Psyker stuff. Let's start with one I actually like. It's called Fortify. Of course, I'm an Imperial Fist, so I love to Fortify. So Fortify has a warp charge value of 4. If manifested, select one friendly Imperial Fist infantry or Imperial Fist biker model within 12 inches of the Psyker. That model regains up to D3 lost wounds. I was actually hoping for tanks and stuff be a part of this, but I think that would be a bit too broken. Imagine just casting this every turn and just regaining up to D3 wounds on an executioner tank. Yeah, I can understand why it's just, you know, in infantry or an Imperial Fist biker unit when it comes to that. And the next little preview is Iron Inferno. Iron Inferno has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one point on the battlefield within 18 inches of and visible to the Psyker. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of that point. On a 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. And if we continue on to the Relics of the Fist, and one of the ones on here is the Spartan. We already know that already. That is part of the Space Marine Codex. And the next one is the Banner of Stangada. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably... it's completely wrong, let's just say it. So an Imperial Fist Ancient model only. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in an Imperial Fist unit that is within 6 inches of a friendly model with this relic, add 1 to the hit rolls. The reason I've chose that one and the reason I really, really like it is because I'm planning to do like a little aggressive vanguard force. So I'm thinking if I stick like a Primaris Ancient in the middle of him, those power fists are not hitting on 4s, they're hitting on 3s now. So you know, once it's in the aura, they're not suffering that minus penalty to hit, which I think is fantastic because that means more glorious fisting for me. And the next relic is called the Eye of Hipponoth. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Again, it's probably terribly wrong. And this is Imperial Fist model only. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in an Imperial Fist unit that is within 6 inches of a friendly model with this relic, re-roll a wound roll of 1. Now, the reason I've chose that is because technically you can have a Chapter Master / Lieutenant where you're re-rolling all the hit rolls, and now you're re-rolling the wound rolls of 1. I think that is massively, massively important because technically you can get rid of your Lieutenant now and invest the points into something else and just have the Chapter Master bubble there, you know, re-rolling all the hits and the wound rolls on top of it. Re-rolling wound rolls on 1s is massively, massively, massive. For me anyway, with my tanks I surround my Chapter Master with. So that is one of the reasons I chose it. I think that's a fantastic relic and I'm definitely going to be taking that with my guy. Alright chaps, that's all the information I'm going to be giving out for now. I do want to say, from what I've seen with this Imperial Fist Codex, that it is going to be very, 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 very good for us Fist players and Crimson Fist players as well. Again, Black Templars are not mentioned in the Codex. We've already spoken briefly about that in other areas and, you know, them coming in the whole Psychic Awakening. With people asking me what should I invest in, I would definitely say when it comes to Imperial Fist, heavy weapons. Stuff that can take heavy stuff, because with the minus AP and stuff, Devastated Doctrine, the amount of DACA you're going to be putting out, I think it's going to be absolutely devastating. That's probably the only word I would actually go to. We are going to wreck. Ignoring cover, bolt weapons, you know, 6s generate another hit. Very, very cool. Very, very awesome. Cannot wait to get the Codex in my hands at the end of this month. Again, it will be coming by the end of the month with Tor Garadon's model and everything that is, you know, been previewed and stuff. Cannot wait to get it. It's going to be amazing. And thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, post them below. I'll do my best to try and answer them. Of course, I can't go into more detail right now, but, you know, if I'll just try and do my best as much as I can. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. See you now and have a great day. Bye-bye.